Okay, lesson 2.1. As we go through this, I'm going to teach the lesson by actually doing some of the homework problems, but one thing I would encourage you to do is to make sure you read through this paragraph right here, look at these highlighted terms. We're going to address these again as we go through homework problems, but it's not a bad idea to read up on those. Again, as you're going through, look for specific terms, look for examples of problems that you can look at and work through as well. Don't just depend specifically on the lesson notes that I do. So here, again, we have another highlighted term, something that you might want to look at. And then any kind of box or something of this nature, okay, that might give you important information. So again, just kind of reviewing. We're going to go right to the evaluate section and want to do some of these problems here with you. So one of the first things, I'm going to start with problem number 1. We're going to look at this where it talks about terms and coefficients. Okay, terms are each of the individual parts of a problem. So in this particular case, we have 1, 2, 3 terms. A coefficient is a number in front of the variable. So the coefficients here are positive 5 and negative 7. So what do we refer to as the negative 20? That's referred to as a constant. It is a number that does not have a variable. So a number by itself is called a constant. A number that's multiplied times a variable is referred to as a coefficient. Okay, let's go down to problem number 3 now. It says identify the factors of the terms of the expression. Okay, so again, this has 3 terms. We have our constant here, 5. We have an algebraic expression or a variable expression, sometimes it's referred to as 6a, and then another algebraic expression here, 11b. So these are all our different terms. It says identify the factors. Well, the factors of 5 are 1 and 5. It's what you multiply to get the term. The factors of 6a are 6 and a. It's what you multiply to get that. So the factors of 11b are 11 and b. So factors are just what factors have been and we referred to in the past. It's what you multiply to get a certain thing. Okay, let's go on down to this word problem number 5. It says Erin is buying produce at a store. She buys C cucumbers at 99 cents each and A apples at 79 cents each. What is the expression? Okay, so when we talk about an expression, all we're doing is talking about something that represents some sort of value or quantity. It is not an equation. There's no equal sign. It's just an expression. So in this case, this expression altogether represents the total cost of buying cucumbers and apples at the store. So when it asks what does that expression represent, total cost. Now as you answer these online with the homework, I'm not exactly sure how that'll play out, so I may have to help you with that a little bit. Okay, so let's continue on here. Let's skip down to problem number 9 here. Okay, the price of a sandwich is $1.50 more than the price of a smoothie, which is $D. Okay, so first thing you want to do, identify your variable. D, dollars, is what? That is the smoothie. What does the expression D plus 1.5 represent? Well, because that is D was the smoothie, and it says a sandwich is $1.50 more than, then D plus 1.5 is the price of the sandwich. That's how you would represent that. You take the price of the smoothie, you add $1.50 to it. Okay, let's continue on. We're going to skip down here to number 12. It says explain the error. I like these problems a lot. says the student wrote that there are two terms in the expression. Explain the student's error. Well, if you actually do distributive property, if you think of this as -1 and you do distributive here, then you get 3p minus 7 plus 4q. Well, then there are there's actually 3 terms in the expression. So when the student was actually looking at the original problem, so I'm going to erase this up here, what they were doing is they were identifying this as a term and this in the parentheses as a term, but you can't do that. You've got to split it up. So we'll look more closely at that as we continue on. Keep going. Let's go to this next section here. Suppose A and B give the populations of 2 states where A is greater than B. Compare the expressions and tell which of the given pair is greater or if the expressions are equal. So let's do problem number 15. And sometimes students have a hard time with this because you're trying to do a comparison here without really having values. Okay, so let's just take numbers and put them in place here. So let's talk about, we know A and B give the populations of 2 states where A is greater than B. Okay, now, first thing we want to note, since A and B give populations of 2 states, something we need to note here is that their populations, they have to be positive values. Now, I don't know what those values are, but it doesn't matter. All I know is A is greater than B. So I'm going to say A is 2, and then I'm going to say B is 1. Now, let's plug that into our expression right here. So we have 1 over 2 plus 1. Okay, so if I simplify that, that's 1 over 3. Now, what is 1 over 3 as a decimal? That is 0.3, oops, sorry about that, 0.3 repeating. Okay, so now it says compare the expressions and tell which of the given pair is greater or if the expressions are equal. Well, what we just found was this expression right here came out to be 0.3. So 0.3 is smaller than 0.5. So if I'm going to compare these, I would write this way here. B over A plus B is less than 0.5. That would be a comparison. Now again, I just made up numbers. It doesn't matter what those numbers are, it just has to be true here that A has to be greater than B. Okay. So let's do another one real quick. Let's do problem number 17. So we're going to do it just like we did the one above. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to start with, we're going to say A is 2 and B is 1. Then we're going to replace those in the expressions over here. So I'm going to write it over here to the right. So I've got 2 minus 1 over 2. That's this one. And then I've got 2 minus 1 over 2. That is this one. So I'm going to simplify each one. So 2 minus 1 is 1. So that ends up being 1/2. If I do the right one, 2 minus 1/2 is 1.5. Oops. I want to keep that in blue here. 1.5. Okay, so then I compare them. This one is greater than 1/2. So if I come back over here, and I'm going to do a little erasing here. So I'm going to erase the word and now I'm going to put my inequality symbol in there. So the blue one is greater than the red one. Alright, the last thing I want to look at here is problem number 24. And this talks about matching the statement with the expression. Okay, so this goes back again to basically understanding how to read word problems a little bit. It said the price of a winter coat and a 20% discount. Okay, so I'm going to say the price of a winter coat is P and a 20% discount. Well, you don't take 20% away from that. You do 20%, which remember as we practiced, percent as a decimal is 0.2. You have to multiply that times the coat, and then you subtract that from the original amount. So this would be our expression right here. p minus 0.2p. Okay, now, what is actually in front of this p? Well, there's a 1 there. We don't write it, but remember it's assumed to be there. So if I do 1p minus 0.2p, oops, sorry about that, let me write that again, 0.2p, and I subtract those, that would give me 0.8p, which is that one right there. So in this particular case, that would be A. And they're using X, I use P. Okay, let's go to the next one. So let me erase all this other stuff here. And okay, so let's go back and we'll write this one as A. Okay, the base salary of an employee and a 2% salary increase. So I'm taking what I originally had, the base salary, which is X. Then I have to add, because it's an increase, so we did problems with increase, decrease, all that kind of stuff, a 2%, which is 0.02. So I look for 0.02 times the original amount, X. So that would be this one right here. Okay, the cost of groceries and a 2% discount. So I'm subtracting 0.02, so that would be this one. And then let's just confirm D. The number of students attending school last year and a 20% increase. So 20% is 0.2. So I'm adding 0.2, so then that would be this one. So hopefully that helped you there in reasoning those out. And again, this is review of how to kind of translate word problems as well. So that's lesson 2.1.